There is one thing, and one phrase in particular, that people on the right love to actually spam constantly. And that is the phrase of facts don't care about your feelings. That is until facts seem to disregard their feelings, and then all of a sudden it's a complete feelings over facts argument. And we saw this through the Brexit campaign. It was an entire feelings over facts reality argument. And this is going to come back to haunt these people, because sooner or later you cannot deny facts and realities. You know, under the worst case scenario for Brexit, that means less exports, a smaller economy, less investment in this country, and of course that means ultimately less jobs. That is going to have a massive knock-on effect. And at the moment, we are in the midst of the coronavirus, so not even all our businesses are currently running on full cylinder to really take in this effect that Brexit has really had on this country at the moment. So the service industry is going to be massively affected, not only in terms of jobs, but supply chains as well. The financial services industry, when that gets start back, that could have huge problems. If you are a company that offers a service, be it digital or maybe some sort of physical service to European customers, you're going to have huge problems where previously it was as simple as just picking up a phone, talking and doing a deal. It ain't going to be like that anymore. So as we, quote, get back to normal, we're going to see, I think, a increasingly ramp up of consequences of Brexit. So as much as the coronavirus has, shall we say, been able to sweep some of the Brexit damage under the rug, you know, that rug is going to get awfully lumpy, and sooner or later we will not be able to ignore the damage that it has done. And this is why very often, sometimes, I get the strategy that some people say Starmer's going for, of you don't talk about it until it happens, and then you can, you know, come out and say, well, you were meant to be handling this. Why weren't you handling this effectively? The only problem is sometimes that strategy doesn't work as well as it should. And the problem is you can't keep on rolling out the same strategy again and again and again. But again, that's why I'm a Labour member. It's why I like to push forward the progressive agenda that we should have in this country, because we are becoming more and more progressive, which is good. We just need Labour to realise, and then we can actually start to do things properly. But maybe that's a topic for another time. But anyway, today we're going to get into that old chestnut of facts over feelings, because recently, or very recently, we had the Transport Road Haulage Association, that was them, come out and say that exports have dropped over 65%, to which Michael Gove came out and just rubbished it, and not even diminished it with like other figures. He just came out and said, we don't believe that figure. But guess what? There's more facts now coming to back it up. So, before we jump into today's video, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And thank you to all those people that do support me that way. So, on with the article. Now, this comes from The Guardian, and the title is "The UK Statistics Authority Rebukes Gove Over Brexit Figures." The Cabinet Office, run by Michael Gove, has been officially reprimanded by the UK Statistics Authority for using unpublished and unverifiable data in an attempt to deny that Brexit has caused a massive fall in the volumes of trade through British ports. The criticism flows from a story in The Observer on the 7th of February that cited a survey by the Road Haulage Association, or the RHA, for the international members, showing export volumes had dropped a staggering 68% in January through British ports and the Channel Tunnel. The RHA wrote to Gove at the time, saying, "Intelligence that we are collecting on an ongoing basis from international hauliers suggests that loads to the EU have reduced by as much as 68%, which has also been evidenced by the increasing number of empty trailers which are not currently considered in the statistics." The RHA also accused Gove of failing to heed its warnings that trade would be damaged unless there was a dramatic increase in the number of customs officials. The Cabinet Office has responded to the Observer's story with a point-by-point rebuttal of the RHS's claims on its website, stating that, quote, inbound and outbound flows across the UK were close to normal at 95% outbound and 96% inbound, in spite of the impact of the COVID lockdowns on trade. But in a letter to Richard Lewis, the chief statistician at the Cabinet Office, sent on Friday following an investigation, Ed Humphreys, the Director General for Regulation at the Statistics Authority, expressed serious concerns at the way the department had used the data to rebut the RHS's information. The letter said that the Cabinet Office's strong rebuttal contained claims based on unpublished data, and as such, these figures cannot be verified. It is our expectation that any data used publicly by the government should be published in an accessible form, with appropriate explanations and, of course, context for sources. Of course, this isn't going to happen. Remember, currently at the moment, the government is refusing to publish an impact assessment based on its own deal. And as we've said in the past, when we've seen these fights before, that only means one thing. These reports contain pretty bad news. So, while Humphreys suggested that the Cabinet Office has given assurances that it would provide more information about whether its information came from, it also added the Cabinet Office should consider how in future it can be more transparent through the release of its data. For example, it should ensure whether there is a significant reason to use unpublished management information in a public statement. The underlying data is published before or at the same time as the public statement. If there is a continued or anticipated public interest in the data, it should consider whether there is a need for new ad hoc or regular statistical releases. The authority, which is independent of ministers, has a statutory objective to safeguard the production and dissemination of statistics by the government in terms of the reference state. It will intervene and raise concerns if official statistics in a document or statements are presented in such a way that, in the authority's opinion, they are limited and liable to mislead the public or undermine the integrity of the official statistics. Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Minister for the Cabinet Office, said, "Our British businesses are under a huge strain from the pandemic and the reams of costly new red tape as a result of the government's deal with the EU. The government should spend less time arguing with our businesses and spinning against them, and more time working with them to actually help them." Trade experts and industry sources have said that ministers have deliberately tried to deny that there was a serious fall-off in trade caused by Brexit, by claims that, quote, flows of lorries had been largely unaffected rather than the volume of goods contained in them. The RHA had made clear, however, that it was referring to volume of goods carried and stressed that very high numbers of lorries which travelled to and from the UK were returning to the continent empty because of problems faced by UK exporters as a result of post-Brexit rules and regulations. Industry sources said last night that while there had been an improvement since January, there was evidence that the number of lorries returning to the EU was still There we go. That the number of lorries returning empty to the EU was still around 50%. The first official statistics on the level of trade to and around the EU since the 1st of January are due to be published later this month. And I'm sure we're going to have a field day when that information comes out, because this was already warned. Now, the, quote, best worst case scenario that has been pointed out for Brexit before is that our exports get lowered. That means less trade, less investment, smaller economy, less jobs. That is the best worst case scenario. And once again, as we've said, it doesn't matter that Brexiteers champion on about doing these fantastic stuff. It doesn't matter that the Daily Express a couple of days ago decided to publish this fantastic story that it was going to be publishing a new ferry route from Dover to Morocco. If that's the best they can do, then that's reaching. That is massively reaching. And as I've said before, this year really is going to be the year that the government tries its best, and this government especially, tries its best to try and prove that Brexit has been a success in any way, shape or form. In fact, I've got a very bizarre feeling at the end of this year, we are going to see some sort of document entailing, like, the first year of Brexit, what a success it's been. And I have a feeling that when that comes out, we're going to be experiencing lots of, well, that's not true because of this, and actually, when you look at the numbers, that facts that they've said don't add up. So I'm sure that is yet another thing that we can look forward to later on, especially the end of the year. But as always, please do remember to hit that like and share button as you're on your way out. And of course, please do remember to have a check out my Patreon page and my one-off donation link, Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee, although I might buy a pint as well with it. And always, as always, we'll see you all next time.